If you're like me, and at some point in your life you felt like you didn't get the parents your younger self needed, then this video found you for a reason. Growing up, we think our environment is normal, right? The environment that we're growing up in is normal to us because it's what we experience on a day-to-day basis. Maybe there's some chaos in the house, there's always a problem, our parents are fighting. We, as children, look at that as normal until one day, hopefully, we wake up and we look around and we realize that not everyone's family dynamic is like this. I know when I got older, I started piecing together things about other families around me whenever I was visiting friends or just out in public, and just noticed the dynamic was quite different than what I grew up in. This led me on a journey of healing, of self-discovery, really, and just a lot of different emotions came with that. I started questioning, how could my parents have been this way? How could they not have been the parents that I needed? My mom was always in chaos. There was always a problem going on in her life, whether it was within our family, whether it was with the neighbors, or it was with her work. It could have been anything, and it was just nonstop chaos. For my dad, he was really not emotionally available. And without getting too much into the details of my situation, there was a point in my life where I realized I needed certain things from my parents when I was a child that I didn't get. I didn't get the emotional support. I didn't get the stability. I didn't get the peace, the safe feeling in my house. And when I realized this at first, it really brought up some emotions of anger and resentment. And I just couldn't comprehend why my parents were that way. Why couldn't they have been better parents for me? And it took me a while to work through these feelings because there was a lot of pain there. I felt really sorry for younger me, and I felt really upset that these adults that were supposed to be able to take care of me and were responsible for me couldn't give me what I needed. At first, I tried changing my parents to be the parents that I needed. So when I was in my early 20s, I started really having some friction between myself and my parents because I was trying to get them to see that they could be different. And I was trying to get them to give me the feeling of the parent that I wish they were. And all that did, honestly, was make that anger and resentment even stronger within me because they are who they are. And they're much older than I am. They've been this way for a very, very long time. The chances that they're going to be able to change those parts of them are slim. And once I realized that, I knew I had to do something to get rid of this anger and resentment. I didn't want to carry this anger and resentment with me forever. I love my parents very much, but you can only be as good of a parent as you are of a person to yourself. Just like you can only be as good of a partner to someone as you are to yourself. And this realization that my parents did the best that they could with what they had. My mom was never taught how to regulate her emotions in a healthy way. She was probably raised in chaos just like she raised me in chaos. And that's all she knew. It's not like she was intentionally causing me pain. She was just trying to navigate the world on her own too. And unfortunately, being a child of someone that doesn't know how to regulate their emotions, doesn't know how to have healthy relationships, who's really struggling on the inside, you as a child of that person bear the weight of it too. And that's how things get passed down generation after generation. That's honestly why you see these same patterns recurring in families generation after generation, because you learn as a child, you learn those patterns from your parents and they learned it from their parents and so on and so forth. Same for my dad, not being as emotionally available. He was only as available as he could be for me as he was for himself. If he didn't know how to be there for himself, how could I expect him to be there for me in any other way? And this perspective shift completely changed the way that I felt towards my parents. Now, I've mentioned before that I don't currently have a relationship with my mother. And just because I've had realizations about why she is the way she is and that I forgive her for the pain that she caused me. And I've healed and I'm continuing to heal from it. It doesn't mean that I need to allow that energy into my life still. I don't want chaos in my life. I don't want problems. I don't want drama. And for me right now anyways, I feel the best choice is to keep her at a distance from me. Now with my dad, he's a much kinder soul. And him not being able to be there for me from an emotional side, I realize he just doesn't know how to do that. He never learned how to do that. And I'm sure somewhere in my grandparents' relationships, that was similar, maybe with each other, maybe with their parents, who knows? But it's behaviors that are learned when we're young, is from the relationships around us, specifically our parents most of the time. And I just came to this realization that I can't blame them for being the way that they are. I can understand and have compassion for them, that because I feel the pain of not having that type of support in my life and not having the peace in my life and growing up in a chaotic environment. And if I think, well, they must have had similar experiences with their parents and their households, I can't blame them for not realizing that they were doing this. It was just what they knew, and it was the best way for them to get through their lives. And honestly, that right there, that perspective shift really allowed me to heal and understand that they were just doing the best they could with what they knew, with what they had. Generational patterns are actually very, very hard to break. Hence, you'll see the same recurring pattern over and over and over again in people's families. Especially now that I've done the work and I've started to heal, I really can see it in other people around me. That generational pattern of not addressing trauma and not being able to regulate your emotions. And so unless they become aware of this pattern happening, it's going to stay that way. And it's going to keep getting passed down generation to generation. I call people who become aware of this the chosen ones. You know, you're the one that finally sees the patterns from the outside and are tired of it and don't want that for yourself and your future anymore. And you've now become aware of it so you can make the changes necessary to create a different pattern in your family. It's a beautiful thing when you get there, when you are able to process the things that you went through as a child and to forgive your parents and to whether or not you want to keep them in your life. Forgiveness is the key to inner peace when it comes to what you experienced as a child with your parents. Realizing that no matter how bad or how evil their actions may have seemed, they are human too, and they were doing the best that they could with what they knew and with the information that they had. And can you imagine what their childhood was like? You know what yours was like. It's quite sad to me. And I do feel so much sadness for them. I feel a lot of love and compassion for them. Because I know what that pain is like. And thankfully, I've done the work to heal from it and not carry as much of that pain. But for them, they carry that with them to the end. Being the chosen one, it's a beautiful thing because you get to create a new life for your bloodline, pretty much. You get to learn how to have healthy relationships, learn to regulate your nervous system and live calmly. And you get to teach your children that, and you get to teach your children healthy relationships. And you get to break the cycle of tarnished relationships between mother and daughter, or daughter and father, or son and mother and son and father. And even yourself and your partner, you learn to have healthy relationships and show your children what it's like to have parents that are in a good, loving, healthy relationship. You get to give them that stability that you never had. For me, a lot of this healing that I've done and this journey really excites me for when I start my own family, because for a long time I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to be a good parent because I felt like I didn't really have the parent that I needed growing up. So how could I be a good parent myself? But now that I've done the healing, I realize that I am that parent now. I can be that parent for my children. I know now how to create a safe space in the house and to work through emotions, and I can show that to my children. That realization I had this week, I was out for a walk with my husband, and it just made me so emotional because I had this fear of not being able to be a good parent because I didn't have that myself. But I realized that I already am the person that is going to be a great parent because I've put in the work, I've taught myself different. I'm breaking the pattern. And if you feel this way too, I just want you to know that you can change it. You can change the pattern. You don't have to relive the same lives that your parents did. You don't have to have tarnished relationships with the people that you love. But it starts with you. And I know you can do it. It takes work, it takes some pain because you have to revisit the past, but I'll tell you, my relationship with my dad is the best it's ever been because I accept him for who he is now, and I'm not angry or resentful towards him. And that in itself is a win. Even if you're someone who doesn't want to have children, being able to mend relationships with your parents, mind you, like I said, some maybe you keep at a distance, but whatever feels right for you. It's just a beautiful thing. And I hope that more people on this planet get to experience that, get to see one another as humans and not hold so many feelings of anger and resentment towards others, because leading a life of love and compassion is so much better. I think I'm going to end it here. I really hope this video resonated with you if you stuck around to the end. It was a heavy topic for me, so it took me a while to actually record this. I tried recording it multiple times, but anyways, I hope you like the message, and I will see you in the next video.